Hi, this is Spellswise MTG, and today I have my 7th instalment of Sporefrog Shenanigans. In today's episode, we have a face-off between Niv Mizzet, Wheels, Yidris, Wheels, and Mizzix of the Izmagnus, Spellslinger. This is a pretty interesting game, we make a lot of mistakes, however it doesn't really affect the end of the game, so let's get on with it. I draw for turn. I play a Zargoth Trio and pass. Alex draws for turn. He plays a mountain and passes. Jack draws for turn. He plays an island and passes. I draw for turn. I play a Sheaven Reef. I pay 2 to cast Rampant Growth. I then pass the turn. Alec untaps and draws. He plays an Izzet Boiler Works, bouncing a mountain to his hand, and I find a swamp with my Rampant Growth. Alec discards Volcanic Salvo on his end step. And then he passes. Jack draws, plays a mountain, and pays 2 for a Sky Diamond and passes. I untap and draw for turn. I play a Vivid Grove tapped and pass the turn. Alec untaps, draws for turn. He plays a mountain and passes the turn. Jack untaps, draws for turn. He plays a mountain and passes the turn. I untap and draw for turn. I pay Yidris and take 1 from my Sheaven Reef, then pass. And on Alec's end step, he casts Leadership Vacuum, returning my commanders to the command zone, which I thought was very rude. Alec untaps and draws, plays a Sulphur Falls for turn, casts Mizzix, then passes. Jack draws for turn. He plays a Highland Lake for turn, then passes. I untap, draw for turn. I play a Forest. I pay 5 to cast Obnixus the Hate Twisted, and I pass. When Alec draws a card, he takes a damage. Alec plays a command tower. Alec casts Tezzerite's Gambit, losing 2 life, and drawing 2 cards, and proliferates, giving him 2 experience counters. Alec passes. Jack draws for turn. He taps 6 to play Niv Mizzet, then he passes the turn. I untap and draw for turn. And now I remind everyone that they should have taken damage for drawing cards, because I forgot. I then -2 Obnixilus to kill Niv Mizzix of the Izmagnus. Alec draws 2 and takes 2. I pay 4 to cast Whispering Madness, and I suspend an Ancestral Vision beforehand, and discards their hand and draws 9. Alec and Jack both take 9 damage. Jack then proceeds to kill Obnixilus, and 6 damage to me. I then play an Evolving Wilds and pass the turn to Alec. Alec untaps, draws for turn. I then sacrifice Evolving Wilds to go and find a land. Alec plays an island for turn. I find an island with my Evolving Wilds. Alec plays a Sol Ring. Alec replays out Mizzix. He then pays 1 to play Contentious Plan, proliferating and drawing a card. Alec then passes. When Jack draws, he deals 1 damage to my face. He plays a Training Center for turn. Jack plays 7 mana for the Dragon Mage. Alec then plays 1 blue to cast Spell Shrivel, and it gets exiled because of Spell Shrivel. Jack then attacks Alec for 5 with Niv Mizzet. I untap, draw for turn, and remove a counter from Ancestral Vision. I play an island, then cast Brainstorm, drawing 3, then putting 2 cards from my hand on top. I pay 6 to replay out Yidris. I pass, Alec untaps, he draws for turn. He plays an island for turn. Alec then passes the turn to Jack. He untaps, draws for turn. He plays a command tower for turn. Jack taps 3 to play Midnight Clock and pays 3 to put a counter on it. Jack then attacks me with Niv Mizzet, and then passes. I untap, draw for turn. I attack Jack with Yidris, he takes 5. And spells I play from my hand now have Cascade. I pay 6 to cast Khan's Temporal Sundering. I then choose to target Niv Mizzet. I Cascade into Incendiary Command. Jack draws a card from Niv Mizzet. I take 1 from Niv Mizzet. I then choose to destroy Is It Boilerworks and wheel. Alec then casts Blue Sun Zenith X equals 8. Jack then draws a card and deals damage and deals it to Yidris. In response to the Incendiary command, Alec casts Negate. Alec draws a card because of Negate, dealing another damage to Yidris. Jack then casts Counterspell, countering Khan's Temporal Sundering, dealing another damage to Yidris. But then Jack cannot finish off Yidris. Alec untaps, draws for turn. Alec plays a Mystic Sanctuary for turn. It enters untapped because he controls 3 or more islands, and puts Mystic Confluence on top of his library. He pays 4 to cast Precognition Field. Alec taps 5 to cast Goblin Dark Dwellers. Alec then casts Reality Shift. Alec chooses Niv Mizzet as the target for Reality Shift. Jack then draws a card, deals 1 damage to Mizzix, and taps Midnight Clock, casting Brainstorm. Draw a card. Jack deals 1 damage to Mizzix, and then draws 3. And deals 3 damage to Alec's face. Then puts 2 cards on top of his library. Niv Mizzet then gets exiled. Alec then jumpstarts Chemist's Insight, drawing 2 cards, discarding a land. Alec then plays a blue, casts Helen Time. Look at the top 3 cards of his library, putting 1 into his hand. 1 on the top and 1 on the bottom. Mizzix then dies to Niv Mizzet, and Niv Mizzet then dies to Reality Shift. Jack then manifests the top card of his library. On Alec's end step, he discards 5 cards. And he passes. Jack untaps. Midnight Clock triggers. Then he draws for turn. He pays 1 to cast Soul Ring. He replays out Niv Mizzet for 8. Jack then passes, and he discards many lands from his hand. I untap. Draw for turn. Remove another counter for Ancestral Vision. Midnight Clock also gets another counter. I then attack Jack, 5 with Yidris. Jack then plays a Braid, choosing to deal 3 damage to Yidris. Jack draws a card and deals 1 damage to Yidris. A Braid then resolves and kills Yidris. I pay 4 to cast Kess Distant Mage. I pay 5 to cast Brawl's Expertise out my graveyard. I bounce Midnight Clock, Niv Mizzet, and Goblin Dark Dwellers. Jack then discards an island and casts Foil, countering it. Jack draws a card from Niv Mizzet, and draws a card from Foil, and deals 2 damage to my face with Niv Mizzet. Then I pass. Alec untaps, draws the turn. He plays a Command Tower. He pays 8 to recast out Mizzix. He pays 3 to cast Part the Water Veil, take an extra turn after this one. Jack draws a card, and pings Mizzix for 1. Jack does not have a counterspell for it, unfortunately. Alec then casts Divination, drawing 2 cards. Jack draws a card and deals 1 damage to Mizzix. Alec then casts out for Deflecting Swat for 3, because he has his commander, and redirects it, and points it at Jack. Jack takes 1. Alec goes to his extra turn, and untapping, and draws turn. He plays a Mountain for turn. Jack gets more Midnight Clock counters again. Alec plays Chandra, Heart of Fire. He upticks it, deals 2 damage to Niv Mizzet. And then in response to the ability, Alec casts Prophetic Bolt. Jack draws a card with Niv Mizzet. He deals 1 damage to Chandra when he draws the card. Then Prophetic Bolt resolves, deals 4 damage to Niv Mizzet. And then Alec looks at the top 4 cards of his library, and puts 1 into his hand and the rest on the bottom of his library. Alec then plays the top card of his library, which is Khan's Temporal Sundering. Alec chooses to bounce Midnight Clock with Khan's Temporal Sundering, then takes an extra turn after this one. He then plays Flux Channeler, then passes to himself. He untaps, draws for turn. He then plays the top card of his library, which is a Fact or Fiction. He reveals the top 5 cards of his library, and chooses Jack. He has a mountain, 2 islands, a Twinning Staff, and a Comet Storm. Jack chooses Comet Storm in the 2 islands, then gives Alec a mountain and a twinning staff. Alec takes a pile with a Comet Storm in it. He taps 6 to cast Chandra's Incinerator. Alec upticks Chandra, discarding his hand, exiling top 3 cards of his library. And he can play them this turn. He then plays Ponder, looking at the top 3 cards of his library. Looks at the top 3 cards of his library and put them in any order. He may shuffle, and he chooses not to shuffle and draws the card. He pays 6 to cast Sunbird's Invocation. Flux Chandler triggers and he proliferates. Jack untaps and draws for turn. Jack plays a Dockside Extortionist. And then Alex sacrifices Commander Sphere to draw a card. Jack makes 3 treasures. He plays an island. He sacrifices 3 treasures to make 3 red. He taps 12 to make 13 mana. To play Devil's Play where X is 12. And targets Alex to deal 12 damage to Alex's face. That sends him down to 5 as Alex has no responses. He passes I untap, draw for turn. At this point Ancestral Vision should have happened, but I completely forgot. I use Kess to cast Central Sundering from my graveyard, bouncing Dockside Extortionist to Jack's hand. I attack Alex for 3. In the air. Lightning Greaves, draw for turn. I play a Mountain. I pay 6 to play the Locust God. I pay 5 to cast Brawl's Expertise from my graveyard. I bounce Kess to my hand. I bounce Sky Diamonds to Jack's hand. And I cast Ancient Excavation from my hand. Drawing 3. I discard Kadama's Reach, Kess, and Niv Mizzet. At this point I realise I forgot to do my Ancestral Vision, we just wait until next turn. I equip Locust God with Lightning Greaves. I attack Alec with 3 Locusts and Jack for 4. With Locust God. I pass, Alec untaps, draws for turn. And I also attack Jack with 1 Locust from last turn. Because Alec was on 2 life. Jack plays 10 to cast Niv Mizzet. He pays a blue. Exiles 7 cards from his graveyard. And casts Treasure Cruise. Jack then kills 3 of my Locusts. He draws a card from Niv Mizzet. Plays an Exotic Orchard for turn. He deals 1 damage to me. I untap after he passes. Ancestral Vision resolves. I draw 3 cards, make 3 Locusts. And then draw for turn, making another Locust. Which I also forget to make. I pay 6 to cast Niv Mizzet Parun. And I equip my Lightning Greaves to it. I pay 3 to cast a Collective Defiance. And I escalate it once. I choose the mode to deal 3 damage to Jack and discard my hand and draw that many cards. Jack draws off his Niv Mizzet. And kills off one of my Locusts. Jack takes 3. I draw a card from Niv Mizzet. Jack takes another damage. I discard 6 cards, draw 6 cards. I kill off Niv Mizzet and Jack takes 1. I then attack Jack for 17, killing him with my flying Izmagnus boys. So, post-game review. In this game, we definitely made a lot of mistakes. Towards the end of the game, I would not be able to cast Brawl's Expertise because it would have been exiled of Kess. It doesn't really affect the game as bouncing his Sky Diamond and my Kess wouldn't have really mattered in the end. I could just cast my Ancient Excavation anyway. In the middle of the game, Alec cast Deflecting Swat. Niv Mizzet would have triggered and would have killed Mizzix anyway, meaning he would have taken an extra turn. It obviously didn't affect the game as I still won. A lot of other mistakes were also made, but a lot of them less noticeable than those 2. The most notable card of the game was probably Niv Mizzet. The amount of card draw and damage it can output is honestly ridiculous. I semi-won the game with it, and Jack was able to control the board, kill off both of our commanders over and over again to stop him from taking damage from Yidris and stop Alec from getting too much value from Mizzix. I hope that'll be all for today. If you did enjoy, remember to like and subscribe. It really helps out the algorithm. So that'll be all for today. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.